What's up, everybody, and thank you for tuning in to Until There's a Cure's interview series. My name's Dhruv, and today I'm joined by special guest Marco Mays. How's it going, Marco?
Hey, what's up? How you doing?
Good, good, good. How are you?
Tired, but I'm good. Other than that, I cannot complain. As my
Mhm.
mother would say, who's gonna listen anyway?
There you go. All right, so let's start at the beginning of your journey. What was it like growing up in Alabama?
Ooh, oh wow, oh wow. Growing up in Alabama, as everyone knows, this is the Bible Belt. We're in the Bible Belt region. So being a African American gay male growing up in the Bible Belt was very, very interesting. Religion is very, very strong in the South.
Hmm.
So there are aspects of what your voice should sound like, what you should look like, what you should act like, and pretty much just to give you a great overview of that, I was bullied from Head Start, kindergarten, all the way to the 12th grade for my voice being too soft. Or everyone thought I was pretty. I thought I was a pretty boy. And I'm like, okay.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, because like in the South, it's pretty like conservative there, and they're not super progressive like the rest of America. So I can imagine it's a little difficult.
well, well, not all of the South is.
Yeah,
Traditionally and stereotypically, that's what the South is about. You still have some
yeah.
problematic places, but there are some places that are pretty progressive.
Hmm. Okay. Um, so in high school, did you play any sports? Were you part of any clubs? Anything like that?
I was a complete introvert in school, so sports was not my thing. Academia was all my thing. So I lost myself in books. I lost myself in knowledge.
Hmm.
I created my own little world. It was safe for me. So
What kinds of subjects were you into?
some of my favorite subjects were I'm a mathematics, science, history person. So all of those things were the arts were huge for me as well.
Yeah.
So those are the things. A lot of stuff I focused. Primarily, I didn't like writing English. I love reading history, but I
Hmm.
didn't like writing English at all. I still don't like writing, but
Hmm.
but those were some of the things. I didn't do any sports. I were a part of all of the academic clubs. Upon graduating, I was the president of our beta club. I was president of our senior club. I was president of our debate club. So I kind of got lost in all of that. So
Yeah. Yeah. I'm part of the debate club at my school, and it's actually
yeah,
like super fun, just talking
yeah,
about.
it is. I
Yeah.
mean, it's super fun to sit down and actually, professionally argue.
Yeah. Okay. And then college. Where did you go to college? Or
Well, when I got out of high school, I immediately went to Auburn University at Montgomery.
hmm.
I pretty much I didn't even take a summer off. I graduated valedictorian from my high school, so I went immediately into college in that summer that I got out of school. I already had college credits because I went to college courses while I was in the 11th grade, the summer between the 10th and 11th, and the 11th and 12th. So I already had college credits when I got out. So it
Yeah.
just made more sense just to keep going to school. Um, and about a year in, I made a D in philosophy, and it was devastating. It was the first D I ever made in my whole life.
Hmm.
So I decided to take a break. And when I took a break, I joined the military. I joined the Navy.
Thank you for your service, first of all. But also, like, I saw that you were part of the Navy when I was looking at your Instagram, and I was wondering if you have any like cool like military or Navy stories.
Oh, wow, dude. Yes. I think the one that everybody usually finds the most interesting um, I came out, well, while I was in the military, the don't ask, don't tell. I was in the kind of like the beginning stages and kind of middle stages of that. So I was never quote unquote out in the military,
Hmm.
but I was out in the military. I didn't hide my sexuality.
Yeah.
Ironically, my supervisors and anything, they just kind of saw it. Hey, Mays work in the admin office. I'm like, yeah, I work there. I don't have no problem. So, but the most interesting story is, of course, being gay. One of the things, like there are other gay men on the ship
Yeah.
um, that were attracted to me. So I'm like, okay, hey, you had some that wanted to be more open about it. They had some that a little bit more closeted about it.
Hmm.
And then I also had my heterosexual straight friends that were super, super protective of me with anybody. So basically, one day one of my buddies had dropped his car off. Matter of fact, it was the guy I was quote unquote dating at the time. He wanted to drop his car off at the mechanic shop, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, great. We drop it off after work. No biggie. So my straight friend at the time was like, why can't he drop his own car off? I'm like, I don't. Well, first of all, he got to get back home. He's actually picked me up. Why are you worried about it? Blah, blah, blah. So long story short, basically they end up fighting in the hangar bay of the ship, all because of me. And I'm like, oh my God, oh my God, oh
Yeah.
my God, we're in the middle of don't ask, don't tell. And how am I going to explain to everyone that these two guys were basically fighting in the hangar bay because one didn't like the other because he thought he was using me to do something. I'm like, okay, this is crazy. This is so crazy. And I just kind of stepped back at that point.
Yeah. I've like been in those types of like situations before where like people are like talking about you, but like in a big group of people, and it's like so like awkward because you're just like there. And
Yeah, and I was standing there. So I mean,
yeah.
these people were coming up from everywhere. I mean, and if you can imagine a aircraft carrier, I was on the USS Dwight D. Eisenhower, and
Mhm.
it's like 3 football fields long,
Yeah.
and we were in Hangar Bay 1, which is probably maybe a good 50 yards basically.
Uh-huh.
So people had started coming from everywhere. I mean, people were coming from behind the airplanes and out of doors and everything just to see the fight. And I'm just standing there like,
Yeah.
no.
Kind of just like frozen.
Yes. And then the Marines are the police on our ship. So the Marines came and broke it up. And I'm like, and people were like, what were they fighting about? I was just like,
And then how many years did you serve in the military?
I served 6.5 years. I was medically retired back in 1996, I believe. Yes.
Hmm.
Yes.
And then after the military, what did you do? Like, where were you at?
Okay. When I detached from the military, I was in Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
While I was on board the ship, I worked for the air boss, which is the guy who does everything on the flight deck, basically. So basically, for me, I had a security clearance, top secret clearance. So when I decided to get out, well, my last command was actually in DC at Defense Intelligence Agency. So when I got out of the military, I had a top secret clearance in the contract world in DC. So basically, the job I was doing at Defense Intelligence Agency, I got out as a civilian and came back and started doing the job as a civilian.
Oh, okay.
So just got
Yeah.
paid money. That's all.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
And then from there, um, how did you kind of get involved with Until There's a Cure? Because I remember Nora, the
mhm.
director of Until There's a Cure, was telling me that she couldn't make it to a meeting, and then she
Oh wow. Yes.
called upon you, and then you filled in.
Yeah, that's actually a very, very interesting story. I mean, we still, every time I see Nora, we still joke about it to this day. Um, I um, I do volunteer work for a local organization here called Medical Advocacy Outreach.
Hmm.
And of course, they service demographics for people living with HIV. Um, and I was there. I used volunteer. I did volunteer work when I lived in New York. So I decided to do it when I moved back to Alabama. And then one of my buddies there is over outreach. I think his job was outreach coordinator at the time. And he was like, oh my God. He said, you do fashion, entertainment, sales and stuff like that. One of our constituents can't make it. I think she broke her wrist or something. I think Nora
Yeah.
broke her wrist. And I need somebody I can trust, and I need somebody that, I know you're going to do what needs to be done. I was like, okay, Doug, I'll do it. So I'm like, I don't do anything. I'll come and do it. So I
Yeah.
set the table up and I did, and I sold, and there people were stopping by, and it felt good selling because I'm my background is PR, so
Yeah.
I'm a people person.
Uh-huh.
So people naturally came to the table. You know, there were people who came back and bought more stuff, all because I'm like, you said you were gonna come back, right? And they did, and they bought things, and it just kind of grew.
Yeah.
And beknownst to me, I was just helping Doug out. I
Mhm.
had no idea I was doing all of this for Until They're Secure. I literally had not heard of the organization or anything.
Yeah.
I was just doing it because Doug had asked me to do it. But
Mhm.
then I was learning about it as I was selling the stuff. I was like, oh my God, this is really nice. And I hadn't heard of the bracelet at all. I hadn't even heard about the AIDS bracelet. I mean, so yeah, I hadn't heard about any of this stuff. I'm
Yeah.
like, where have I been under a rock all this time?
Mhm.
And I do so much advocacy work in the LGBT plus, specifically HIV/AIDS
Mhm.
arena. And so I was like, wow. So I'm like, oh my gosh. So when they had another conference maybe like a year later, and the same conference, just at a different place. And he asked me to volunteer again, and I did. And I was helping at the MAO table. And Nora was directly across from me,
Mhm.
across the event space. And I was like, okay. I said, well, you know what? Let me go and introduce myself.
Mhm.
And when I did, it was like, I was like, oh my God. And she was like, wait, 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 wait. She thought I was one of the individuals that's an ambassador there in California. And
Mhm.
she was like, what is he doing here? Because she called me his twin all the time. And when I walked out, I said, no, I'm Marco. And she was like, oh, you're Marco. She said, oh my God, you're Marco. I was like, yeah. How are you? She said, oh my God. He said, Doug has always talked so highly about you. And I just
Mhm.
now know why. He said, I felt your presence walking across the room, and you really have a personality that's there, and you're
Yeah.
genuine. And we started talking about the organization, and then that was all they wrote. She didn't have to get halfway through our conversation. I said, yeah, I help. So,
Mhm. Um, how has the HIV/AIDS conversation changed your life? Like, how has this like really impacted you?
wow. Well, a little transparency, and I always use my status as a teaching tool. Um, I was diagnosed in 1996. It was part of the reason why I was medically retired from the military.
Mhm.
And I was one of the last. Well, I'm not one of the last people, but I was one of the last. They just actually physically just put you out because you're HIV positive,
Yeah.
because they did do that for a while. Um, so I was one of those people who actually went through medical boards to get dismissed, and that started my HIV journey. Let's say it that way. And then for a while, there was this whole depletion of feeling dirty. No one will want me. Um, all of those things. I'll be alone by myself for the rest of my life, kind of thing. What my family think, what my friends think. All those things I went through. Um, and then I started pretty much when I was in New York. I started doing advocacy work, you know, helping individuals. I was a part of a program that helped with housing and people who suffer with depression. So it was dual diagnosis, and I was a part of this program. And I ended up being the actual CAB representative for the individuals, the constituents that they service. I was the representative for all of them to come to the corporate table to sit down and say, hey, these are the issues we're having.
Mhm.
And that's when, I guess the lightning bug really bit me, because I really saw there was a need, a true need to help individuals living with HIV, not just, oh, you need medications, oh, you're going to die from AIDS. Because a lot of times that's what was the stigmatization is from. A lot of times you have HIV and you're going to die of AIDS.
Mhm.
That's it. And
Yeah.
that's a lot of times that's really what was taught in the South. We're still fighting that right now. But when I started seeing all those other layers of advocacy, to where life
Mhm.
blossoming right in front of me. My life was blossoming right in front of me. At that point, I escalated. I started modeling with model management in New York, became this pricing manager for Sears Holding. I was creative director for a company for Lauderdale that flew me down there at least six months out of the year. So when I started seeing that my life was not over because I became HIV positive, I said, wow, I can teach other people to do this. I should show people, you know,
Mm.
this is what you can do. And that's when I really took it all upon myself. And it just kind of escalated from there.
Yeah, I can tell that you really like to help people. And then when I went on your website, marcomays.com, by the way, love the website. I've never seen anyone with their own website, and this is actually really cool. Um, you have your charity, I think, um,
Yes.
M2 Gives. So if you
Yeah.
want to talk about that.
Wow. Well, let's see. M2 Gives. My parent company name at the time was M2,
Hmm.
which is Marco Mays, the two M's and the two. So that's my parent consulting company name. Well, at the time, because it recently just changed, and there'll be a new website coming. So I'll send you all the info. But anyway, M2 was the parent company. So I don't know if you've heard of Jeffrey Cares. Have you ever heard of Jeffrey Cares? He does a show, or the individual or the organization does fashion shows to raise money for HIV/AIDS
Hmm.
in LA and in New York. They have them simultaneously, on each coast. So it's very interesting, but they raise money for that. And I attended a Jeffrey Cares fashion event on the carrier boat in the New York Harbor, in the Hudson Harbor. And I thought this was the most amazing thing. I'm like, wow. Well, you had Coach, you had all these amazing sponsors. There was a all male fashion show, and it was just fabulous. I'm like, wow. I'm like, oh my God. And this is all going toward to help someone. And that's where it branched off to me. I'm like, M2 Gives. What am I passionate about? And you hit it right in the head a few minutes ago. I love helping people. I know that is my true blessing, my true path on this planet. That's what it is. I know it. I live it. I breathe it. So I come from a small town, Raymer, and remember we were talking about how the South is, right?
Yeah.
And basically, it's my father owned a lumbering company. He lumbered and worked for someone like, our little small town was a huge lumbering company. It had railroads, it had the trains to come through. There were plenty of schools and stores. So when the lumbering went out of the town or left
Hmm.
the town depleted.
Yeah.
It really depleted. So I'm like, okay, wow, I like to eat. So how can I bring fresh fruit and vegetables, nutritional eating back to my small town? This is where I'm from.
Yeah.
So I came up with M2 Gives. So basically with M2 Gives, what we do is for Christmas, usually around the holidays, we create fruit baskets. And sometimes we have some sponsors that give gift cards. Like the year before last, we didn't do it last year because of COVID, but the year before last, we had some individuals to donate $10 Walmart cards. And I usually give it out to um, at least 50 people when
Hmm.
we did the gift card. But as far as with the fruit bag, we do at least 200 to 300 fruit bags that I pass out. We pass out in the organization each year
Hmm.
to shut-ins, to our seniors. Most of our focus of seniors shut-in. Most definitely individuals are financially challenged, which a lot of people are in these rural communities, because there's a clinic there, but for someone to get particularly, let's say, HIV care, you
Yeah.
can go there for it. But if you need more centralized care, you have to drive 40 miles to Montgomery.
Yeah.
So there's so many pieces, and that was just the beginning for me. M2 Gives with the fruit is just the beginning. So
Hmm.
I've incorporated some other nonprofits to come on board, that come down and do nutritional training. They also donate food and fruits and vegetables. Produce is really big in the South. So, you'll hear this thing about meat and three. That's pretty much what it is. You get a meat and three vegetables. So, so it's really, really huge. And I like it. And it's been a loving piece for me, because moving back to Alabama, I've got my mother incorporated into it. I've got my sister incorporated into helping. My little brother donates, and then my extended friends and families here. I mean, I even have people from New York, LA donating when they know it's coming. It's time to do it. They say, "Hey, what do you need?"
Hmm.
Right? Even if they just send me tissue papers, or they donate the bags, the fruit go in, or the boxes, or pay for the stickers or the labels, anything. And again, it's not even a nonprofit. It's just a really just thing I love doing,
Yeah.
which everyone's telling me I should transfer over to a nonprofit.
Hmm. Also, when I was looking at your website, I saw the word icon pop up a lot.
Oh,
So, what does that word mean to you, and why did you
oh wow.
describe yourself as an
Okay.
icon?
So you want me to explain icon, right?
Yeah.
Okay, gosh. Okay. Well, another part of my life is I am a model slash actor.
Mhm.
Uh, So I've had a modeling career. I mean, I still freelance now. I still do commercials, print work. I do extra work. I love doing extra work. You know, I don't have to be in the front of the screen, even though every producer telling me to become the principal, which is the lead person.
Mhm.
I like the extra work. I like being in the background. I mean, I love doing that. It's fun.
Mhm.
So that's how the fashion industry, to where basically there is this whole Sir Icon is actually the full name.
Yeah.
I am Sir Icon. And it's kind of like this huge oxymoron because um, most icons aren't, let me say, like kings and queens, I forget what that word is, or royalty. That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. Most icons aren't royalty, and most royalties aren't icon. And I think Princess Diana is the one that kind of really blurred that line for them because she was an icon and royalty at the same time. And me personally, my thoughts on that is that is why they had so much trouble with her. But I truly, truly, because I think she's one of my heroes. I love her to death. I think she was one of the most caring person. I don't even live in the UK. I have friends that live in the UK, and I live through them.
Yeah.
So, but same concept is how Sir Icon came about. I as being an African American male, particularly living in the South, and I teach this a lot of my African heritage did not start on a slave boat. It started on the continent of Africa,
Mhm.
where my ancestors were kings and queens. So I come from royalty. So Sir is in my blood already.
Yeah.
And being an icon, the icon piece just came into everyone has always looked up to me. I
Mhm.
am that stoic person. I love being stoic to where they're looking for me for something. I don't need it to get my head big. I literally need it to balance myself out. It's like I have to help people because as I help them, they help me.
Mhm.
And that's how Icon was born. So I just merged it to Sir Icon, and it just kind of rolled from there. And it got stuck because that's what everybody calls me now.
Yeah. I mean, after learning about you, I feel like that's like perfect. Um,
Wow. Well, thank you.
yeah,
Ah, thank you.
you really love to give back to your community,
Hmm.
which I mean, I love that.
Yeah.
Um,
Thank you.
to wrap it up, I would like to end this interview with a lighthearted question. If
Oh,
you could be any animal in the world, what animal would you be?
animal. Oh my gosh. Let's see. Hmm. I would say a peacock.
Why a peacock?
I would say a peacock is. I think it's one of the most mysterious birds known
Hmm.
because it's very nondescript. You know, when it's walking around, pecking, eating. And I'm like, okay, hey, just say, oh, rah, rah, I'm here. They come in, different colors. There are some blue, there are some green, and then of course there are the tradition, the white ones.
Hmm.
Um, very, very nondescript.
Yeah.
But however, when there is the moment of I need to get attention, or if I need for attention, or need to show you attention, or that I want to show you attention, all of these things bloom. I mean, much like this thing right here behind me. I mean, that's one of the reasons why it's there. But it really reminds me of all the life, all the beauty that comes out in each feather, each quill. Every one of them has its own story, and every human being has their own story.
Hmm.
So I see every human being when I talk to them, when their feathers started opening up as peacocks, they really fully realize how beautiful they are and what each of those pieces mean. And if we need to break each of those quills down to say, hey, what does life mean? What does family mean? What does work mean? What does self mean? All of those are quills for me, as far as particularly if I make everyone a peacock.
Yeah,
So I would say a peacock.
that's amazing. All right. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
And thank you for you guys who are listening on the Until There's a Cure website. And I'm out. Bye.
Peace. Have a good one.